Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the very next remedy the very next remedy
of the episode.
What the hell? You know what? I'm trying to do too many things at once. With Tova and
Janice.
And Janice Bridwell.
Well, my husband's named Tom, too, so I could be with you, too, Tom.
God,
okay,
I really
it's
flubbed.
going to be a long afternoon.
I don't know that I've ever flubbed on the intro. That's bad.
You were daydreaming about something fun.
I'm tired is what I am. I went to Parents Weekend this weekend in Virginia.
Oh, I thought you had already done that.
We did Parents Weekend the weekend before at UT.
It was a big football weekend for you, I bet.
Oh, it was it was the most fun game. Carter played out of his mind.
That's so cool.
And it was a shutout, 31-0.
Oh, that's
Awesome.
so cool.
Yeah. And he played great, but I'm tired. They wear me out and they spend all my money.
I literally, I watch more football in our house than Tom does.
I love it.
And I watch so much football that I really just kind of, I just wasted like all day yesterday
it's
and
not
all
a
day
waste.
Saturday.
It is not a waste. It is
Texas Tech
Especially
won.
the Vanderbilt game. That was insanity.
That was a really good game.
That was a great game.
I know.
And I don't have a dog in the fight, but you just love seeing a story like that.
Well, you just like Alabama. I don't pull for Alabama, but it's a great school.
Yeah.
But so when somebody beats them, it's kind of fun.
Oh, especially, I mean, what was it, Tom? They hadn't beat him since.
It was the first time they'd ever beaten a number one ranked team ever.
Oh,
And
Vanderbilt?
maybe it had been 40 years since they beat Alabama.
yeah. I want to say it was like
And
52.
yeah, so but the real fun thing about that was the goalpost in the
Oh,
river.
right.
Yeah. I
They
mean,
carried
those.
it 2 miles.
And that stand emptied out like it was unbelievable.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Really fun. Really fun. College football, there's just
It's really
nothing
fun.
quite like it.
So Texas Tech won.
Oh, I know.
So make sure
I know
you're knowing that.
all of that because Craig went there. So we were in Virginia for.
When did he go there?
He is 56.
Oh.
So however
We're
many
about
years
the same age.
ish. He missed you by a couple years.
Just a couple of decades.
No.
Yeah, they are decades.
Well, so we were in Virginia because it was Carter and George's family weekend.
Yeah.
And so the Tech game started at 11.
Yeah.
So I think I saw one play. I was worn out. But when we woke up the next day, it was really fun to see the score.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. KU lost.
No surprise there.
But they played really well last weekend.
Yeah. I mean, it's one weekend to the next.
It is. I'm telling you.
Okay. Well, today we got some advice from a top CEO, and he did a post or an article, my top career advice after 20 years as CEO. So in the post, he said, I had a recent college grad reach out to me for advice a few months ago. This took me down memory lane. 2 decades of faceplants, big wins, and oh crap moments. I've learned a ton. But these 10 lessons topped the list. I'd pay good money to travel back in time to knock them into 20-year-old me.
I as you were reading this, I thought, God, this is so good. I'm anxious to see what he says. And I think that if you are listening and you have kids in college or young adults, or I think it'd be really worth your while if you like this as we are talking about it, that you make some notes.
Yeah.
So that you could kind of share that
Yeah.
with your kiddos. Because I think that whole career thing is really confusing and scary for young adults.
Absolutely. And, by the time you get older, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, like it's so easy to go back. I mean, I so wish I could go back and I'd do so many things different. I mean, I would have liked to seen the outcome had I done it different. I'm glad everything went the way that it went because it got me to where I am today.
Yeah.
But golly, it's unbelievable what you learn in your 20s. 20s are such learning years.
Yeah, they really are. I really wanted to be a doctor. And my dad was like, oh, you don't need to do that. That's so long of school. I really, really, really wanted to do it.
What kind of a doctor?
I don't know. I just wanted to go to medical school.
You kind of are a doctor.
Yeah, I am a brain doctor.
Yeah.
Not a surgeon.
Yeah.
Not a brain surgeon.
Yeah. I mean, you absolutely, you're my brain doctor. Yeah. I mean, what you do is sort of like a doctor. I mean, the way you help people and.
Yeah, but I was more interested in the actual medical field. I thought it would be cool to be a surgeon. I used to.
You could do that?
I used to get frogs. This is so weird. Everybody will think I'm so strange. And I would put them in a jar with alcohol swab, and then I had a little wooden thing that they would die, and I would put them on this little wooden board, and I had a scapula, and I would cut the frog open and pin back.
You dissected it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I probably would have done a cat if I'd known one that died.
Wow.
It was I was very much into it. But my mom and dad just didn't see really the need for that.
I understand why that generation would say, you don't need to do that.
Yeah, just get married and have some kids and grandkids.
And it'll all work out.
It'll all be fine. Just make sure you marry a man who has a good job. Nobody ever said to me, yeah, you could be a doctor.
You could make some great money.
Yeah. And it could be fun if it's something that you wanted to do.
There's a girl that comes to me and she works for a plastic surgeon, and every year they go to these conferences where they learn about the face.
Yeah.
And they dissect faces of dead people, of corpses.
Yeah, cadavers.
Cadavers, yeah. Uh-huh. And like the face, so they walk in this room, and she's telling me this, and my eyes are about to pop out of my head, and it also made me very nauseous. At some point, I had to ask her to please stop talking to me because I can't.
You can't.
Oh, but you want to know the crazy thing? So they practice.
Oh yeah.
On these cadavers, and they're real faces of dead people, and it's just the heads.
Oh, they cut off their heads?
It's just the heads in the room.
Yeah.
Their bodies are gone.
Yeah.
Because they're doing something else for science.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I was like, are you kidding me? I mean, they practice Botox. They learn where the vessels are. They learn how to cut with the least amount of blood. I mean, I could, when I say never, I think I'd faint and barf all at the same time. I can't do it. That's what's amazing to me is how different we all are.
I know.
And like the fact that you thought I couldn't be a doctor because I can't even see my own blood.
Yeah, I think I could have done it. I really wanted to do it.
Wow.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, they just didn't, they really didn't think about me really being able to do it. But I graduated number one in my class, and so I knew that I had the brain
Janice.
Ability to do it.
Yeah.
I was a really good student. I knew how to study. There were three of us that had the rank of one in our class, and the other two were much smarter than I was. I was just a really good student. I knew how to study. I always did all of the work. I was kind of a nerd.
It's amazing.
But anyway, I'm glad I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, I'm really glad you aren't either.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're my head doctor. Okay, so we have, this guy came up with 10, I think 10 lessons. And so he says the lesson, and then he's got some bullet points. So we're going to do 5 this week.
Yeah.
And then we'll do 5 next. And then we had a request to talk the next time about erectile dysfunction.
Oh.
Do you know much about that? The psychology of it?
That sounds really hard.
You are hilarious.
Well, I mean,
you don't even hesitate with that joke.
I've been watching The Office a lot lately, and so
Oh my God.
I've just got this Michael Scott thing going on.
I love it. That's hilarious.
That is that sounds hard. Oh my God.
Well, that'll be interesting.
Yeah, so I'll find us some information about erectile dysfunction. I mean, I'm sure you've worked with several men who've struggled with that.
Yeah.
So we could find something on the science of it, and then maybe do something on the psychology of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good.
it happens.
Yeah.
Okay, but for today, things that we could wish we could go back and tell our 20-year-old self. Janice, you want to take numero uno?
Yes. Let me find it. Sorry, guys.
Okay, I have it. So
Go.
I'll read.
Why is
I'll do
that
number
page
1.
not coming up? Okay, now it is, I think.
Oh, do you have it?
Hold on. Go ahead.
Okay. So your 20s, he says the first thing that he'd tell his 20-year-old self is that your 20s are all about experiences. He encourages us with 4, well, not us because we're not in our 20s, but he's encouraging the 20-year-olds with these 4 bullet points underneath that your 20s are all about experiences. Focus less on the destination and more on the journey. Could not agree more with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's really hard to not focus on the destination, but when you're in your 20s, what you don't know is how much more life you have left.
Yeah.
You know what's funny, though, about this is that I remember from my 20s, and I'm sure most people in their 20s were not focusing on the destination. I don't know. I don't know many, except the people that became doctors and scientists, which is so few.
Yeah.
I feel like most of the people I was with were focusing on the journey. Like we were just wanting to have fun and just do all this stuff. I don't think most of my friends really didn't even know what they wanted to do in college.
I definitely think that this is something that the generation today does not struggle with.
Yeah.
I agree with you, Tom, on that. I think that I think we've gotten away from and more evolved into this type of thinking.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, like our grandparents, even our parents, like, you know, they worked at the same company for 25, 50, 50 years. They got pensions. It was like you got in, and a lot of times you never left.
Yeah.
But
and sometimes you got into a job that you really didn't even like that
Yeah.
much. You just took it because it was secure and
then you stayed there.
and yeah.
But this generation, I think they really focus on the journey.
Yeah, I think
Much
that
better.
they're thinking about, is this where I want to live? Is this what I want? Is this going to give me enough money? Is this going to take up too much time, or whatever it is? I think they're looking at it rather than just, okay, now I have to get a job.
Right.
And they didn't, I don't think that even when I was growing up, nobody really talked to me about what I really wanted to do. You know,
Nobody even asked that question.
Yeah.
When I
you
was
just
young.
graduated.
And then you got a job that paid.
Yeah.
And if you didn't like it, it didn't matter because you had a job that paid you.
Yeah, that's right.
But this generation, if they're not happy or they're not learning or growing or evolving, they're out and they're going to move on to something else. They're damn lucky.
Yeah.
That they have that thought process.
Well, and it's, I think that so much of it is, so many things about our lives are this. This thing can be applicable to
That's very true.
So many different things rather than just getting up and getting dressed and go run errands or whatever it is, but really fulfilling your life and being able to make it what you want it to be.
Enjoying the journey, no matter where you are in life.
Yeah, because if you're going to go on a trip, if you're going to go on a journey, you might as well do a journey that is fun and fulfilling. Yeah, instead of
totally
just
enjoyable.
making sure that you have enough money to buy groceries. I mean, and that's not nothing either.
Right.
Yeah.
But I like that one, but I think this next generation's lucky. Try different things and say yes to everything. Heck yeah.
Except using heroin.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that. Consider starting a company. It'll teach you to embrace uncertainty and take calculated risks. I mean, if you're going to start something, the younger the better.
Yeah.
You have less to lose.
Yeah.
And then finally, the last one on this first one is you'll never find your passion if you're not searching.
Yeah.
Could not agree more.
Yeah, and the thing about passion is that I think that my parents never thought about doing their passion. All they did, my mom just was a stay-at-home mom. And my dad owned a newspaper. He bought a newspaper in a little town outside of Lubbock. But I don't think that was his passion at all.
My parents didn't do their passion. They did what they needed to do to provide. But you definitely live your passion. I live a very passionate life.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too.
I really don't do a damn thing I don't want to.
I don't either.
That's amazing.
I know, it really is. Well, pay our taxes. Yep.
Tom, do you think you live a passionate life?
Absolutely.
Ooh, no hesitation there. Love it.
Yeah, I definitely like you guys. I don't get put in a situation where I have to do something I don't want to do. And if I do, you will not like the complaining and bitching and moaning that happens. Just talk to Maureen about that.
Yeah. I think I understand how difficult it is for people who are needing to make enough money to support their household and everything, and they don't see themselves just walking away from it if it's not enjoyable to them.
Yeah.
Classic line from Spinal Tap. If you've ever seen that movie, it's really funny. It's a documentary, but it's actually the first rockumentary.
Oh.
It's old, isn't it?
It's old. It's from the 80s, but it's basically making fun of like the glam rock of the 70s and 80s, and it's Christopher Guest and crew, the guys that made Best in Show.
Yeah.
And,
God, I love that.
They're
crew.
hilarious.
Yes.
It's the first one of those movies in that series. There's about 7 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the guys in the band said this classic line. He goes, "Have a good time all the time." That's my motto. Have a good time all the time.
My time.
That's great.
All the time.
That's
Have
a
a good
good
time
motto.
all the time. I love it.
Yeah. That's a great. I need that poster.
I do too.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Good bumper sticker material.
It really is.
Okay, Janice, you want to take number 2?
Yes. Prioritize learning. Prioritize learning over titles.
Let's see what he means.
Okay. Focus on gaining a bunch of complementary skills. Oh, interesting, isn't it?
I wonder what a complementary skill is.
Maybe they influence another skill. Maybe what this means is take the free,
like take free learning or lessons from watching other people make mistakes. I feel like my granddad and my dad told me in school a long time ago that, like, if you see someone getting in trouble, you are learning what not to do. And if you're not paying attention to that, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
So like basically they're just saying you're going to be seeing kids messing up all your life and you should just learn. That's free advice.
Yeah. Yeah. And watching other people learn is free advice.
Oh, yeah,
It's
for
really
sure. Yeah.
Really good.
The next one is choose challenging roles on purpose.
That's a good one.
That's a really good one. And I think, and the first thing that popped into my mind, and it might be the first thing or one thing that might pop into your mind, is writing those books, writing those 2 books that I wrote and the book that you wrote. You know?
That was very challenging.
It's challenging to write a book.
Very challenging.
And I never thought it would be. I thought I'd just sit down and when I wrote The Shame Game, I had notes in my car, and every time I thought of something I wanted to put in the book, I would write it down on this notepad.
Brilliant.
And but it, you know, there are authors who, like Robert Ludlum, who churn out these novels and one after another. And I think that the 2 books that I wrote, I think it was they were the hardest things I've ever done.
Wow.
And, you know, to make it like I wanted it to be, it was hard.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Especially like you said, like I have written books, but I would not consider myself an author.
Right.
A natural writer.
Right.
I felt called and compelled to do it, and I'm so glad that I did. But that was challenging.
It really was.
When I finished, and I'm sure you may have not, this may have not happened to you exactly, but when I finished, I cried. I mean, I shut my computer and I cried.
It was felt so
Yes,
good.
because it was just such an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there was still so much work to do with, you know, getting it printed and selling it, but you just write that sucker and you close your computer and you're like, you just had a freaking baby.
Yeah. I mean, maybe triplets.
Yeah, totally. I think that's a great example of like getting out of your comfort zone and
And having that
feels.
intention and hanging in there long enough to do it. Yeah. I told Tom one day, I think I told you this, that I said, if I ever mention writing another book, I want you to slap me across the face. And then one day I said, you know what? I've decided what my next book's going to be.
He's like, do you want me to slap you now or after dinner?
Exactly. And then I was like, yeah, no, never mind.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, keep going with this.
Okay.
It's with these learning over titles.
Get a job at a startup and get more responsibility. Develop a diverse skill set to become versatile.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Your 20s are for learning, not chasing titles.
It's good.
So good, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, think of all the life lessons in your 20s.
Oh, yeah. But you know what? Some people really do get caught up with titles.
Yeah. Oh,
And,
yeah.
you know, Craig is the CEO of a mortgage company. And so he has a big title. And one thing that I love about what he says, I mean, he could care less about his title.
Yeah.
And, it is what it is, but it's not like he's walking around. When we play golf with people and they say, what do you do for a living? He says, I work for a mortgage company. You know, I'm in the mortgage business. He's not throwing out his title.
Yeah.
But when people come to interview with him, they want to know, what's my title?
Yeah.
And you know what he says to them? He was like, we really don't have a lot of titles here. We're a pretty linear company. We all work together. We all need each other.
Yeah.
And so we're not a big we're not big into titles.
Yeah. But you do, like Tom's company, he's CEO of his company, the company that he runs, but he raises money. And so
Yep.
he
needs a good title.
He has to tell people his title.
Yeah.
And he does sometimes. He's like, it feels really weird.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But that's what his job is.
Yep. Yeah.
And
it just is what it is.
Yeah.
He's not trying to throw it around, but
No.
But
Yeah.
it does get credibility if you're trying to raise money.
It is kind of
it's kind of a
necessity.
necessary.
Yeah.
But for your 20s, I couldn't agree more.
Oh, yeah.
And you might discover, well, I thought I wanted to do this, but man, I'm really loving the branding department or the marketing department
Yeah.
or the PR department or the sales. I didn't know I was good at sales.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool to get that versatility.
Yeah,
in your
I
20s.
think so too.
Makes you more marketable.
Oh, I totally agree. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is so interesting.
Yeah, it's good.
I think. Yeah.
All right, Tom, you want number 3?
Sure. Build relationships, not numbers. Forget follower count. Okay, it's kind of embarrassing that even has to be said.
Really.
Oh, but it is
But
so applicable to the next generation.
What a tragedy that it is that there's so many people out there that are concerned about something so stupid as how many followers you have.
Oh, I think most people 35 and younger really care about that.
Yeah.
Like really care about that.
Yeah. Focus on building meaningful connections with people who are ahead of you in their career.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you can't learn from somebody who already has wisdom in the field you're in, I mean, what are you even doing?
Yeah. Very, very, very good advice.
Yeah. It really is. Go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, I have a mentor that I still hang out with all the time for engineering. His name is Paul Williams, and he's amazing. I mean, I would be nowhere without that dude.
Yeah.
With like owning a studio and having a title like sound caresser.
That's a good title. That's a sexy title.
I had a therapist that when I was in my first marriage, his name is Mickey Bickers, and he was my therapist. And one day he said, so then I ended up getting a divorce, and he said, so now what are you going to do now that you've have a divorce? And I said, I have no idea. And he said, you might think about trying to get your license and being a therapist, he said, because I just think you might be able to do that. And I was like, really? And
He's
he
the
goes,
one who planted that in your mind.
And I said, okay. And then I did it. And then I went to grad school, and then I shared an office with him.
I remember Mickey.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really.
When I would come see you, I would see Mickey.
Yeah, he's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it was really interesting, and that I mean, those connections.
Heck yeah, you inspired me to do what I do now. I mean,
and that's that you want to be able to do that.
Yes.
You like your job enough, you're passionate enough for doing what you're doing that you're the perfect person to encourage people.
well,
Because they can tell that you like it.
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I think the thing that kind of set me apart was one, just the ministry background and all those years of pastoral counseling. But number two, just all the shit I've been through in my life.
Well, yeah.
I mean, all of those
Exactly.
experiences really do help you help others.
Well, yeah, and a lot of people don't think that if you've had a bunch of troubles in your life, you wouldn't be a good therapist. But that's probably the best experience is your own experience.
Totally. If you've gotten to the other side of it, and then these people come to you and they're getting a divorce, or they're losing a child, or they're dealing with XYZ in their marriage, or they've been through something physical that, that they never thought they'd get over, or whatever it is. It's like, if you can speak and you're sitting there and you're inspired, you can inspire them because you can say, me too.
And you can give them hope.
Yes.
That's, I think, the best thing.
That's what they're looking for.
Is some hope.
Yes.
Well, what am I going to do if I get out of this marriage? How could I do it? All of those things. So
I remember asking you, am I going to be okay?
Yeah.
I'm sure many people have asked you that. And to have somebody that you trust and you admire look at you and assure you that you're going to be okay, it's like, okay, I can do this one more day.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what Mickey did for me.
Yeah, that's what you did for me.
Yeah, it's real interesting, isn't it?
It's a blessing.
Yeah, it is.
It's a real blessing.
All right, so there's the two more bullet points on this: build relationships, not numbers.
Yep.
Get on their radar. Figure out how to offer value to them.
Oh, the relationships?
Yes.
The connections?
Correct. Now, what's interesting about this is I was reading ahead while you guys were just
blabbing it up,
pontificating,
reminiscing.
I didn't do this. My first 2 jobs that were like real jobs right out of college. I did the first one I did for 13 months and the second one I did for 3 years. I did not figure out how to offer value to my bosses beyond just the job that I had. I mean, I could have, but I didn't. And I was sitting here thinking the reason that I didn't do that is because I didn't really want to be at that job.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then I was fine working there and doing my job, but like I did not try to advance further than just that one thing. I was cool with just doing my job and going home even early sometimes just to get back to my house and get back to what I wanted to do. But then when I finally started working at the recording studio in Deep Ellum with the guy that I just mentioned, Paul Williams, I went berserk trying to figure out a way to stay there. I was not going to ever be told, we can't keep you. Like, I was like, whatever I have to do. And
so
I
it fired
just remember
that
going
passion, didn't it?
Yes. Like
so cool.
So it's funny. Like that really has to be, I think if you don't really have the passion for the job, then it's going to be really hard to offer value to somebody.
So true.
I mean, you have to want it really bad.
So true.
When if I hear people like young adults say to me, what on earth am I going to do with my life? I've got to get a job. I've got to figure it out. And I'm like, okay, well, let's talk about what you love to do. And then we'll start from there.
Let's back up from there.
And then you can, I love music. All right. Well, recording studio or whatever. I mean, just it rolls on and on and on and on and on.
There's no reason to be in an industry that you're not passionate about.
No, and to be comfortably miserable is miserable.
Right.
It doesn't work.
It ends with the same word.
It does.
You know what's funny though is that these first 2 jobs I mentioned, they were both at recording studios. They just weren't doing what I thought
you
was
love
fun.
to do.
The first one, I'll just quickly tell you, the first one I spent the first 13 months digitizing a collection of analog tapes that this guy had. He had 500 2-inch tape reels that he needed to be put into a digital format. So it was like listening to these old
I don't even
reels
know what that means.
Well, like this guy
awful.
he was a Christian music producer, so he had all these old analog tapes of like B.J. Thomas and Marilyn McCoo and Amy Grant.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And those names, I'm sure.
They do. Amy Grant, I totally.
So, but he knew that those tapes were going to like get old and crusty physically, so he had to get them onto a digital format to take them in, to keep them going into the future, like to have them in posterity.
But that's so cool that you
at
had
first.
that you enabled their talents to continue.
Somebody had to do it.
That
Yeah.
is true, but it was a very repetitive thing. So after I got to like the first 100 tapes, and I'm like, this is getting boring, and I'm pretty sure this is not what I want to do as an engineer for the rest of my life. So I knew that when this task was over, I was going to have to find something else to do, but it wasn't going to be that. Then the second job was doing voiceovers for like commercials, working in a studio, but I was only listening to somebody read copy all day and then editing it down. Not fun. Not recording music.
Yeah.
And so finally, when I was actually working with bands on my third job, I was like, okay, now now we're cooking with fire here.
So how did you get that? How did you get connected with those bands?
Well, my band recorded at this recording studio, and so we were a paying client, and that's how I met Paul and kind of was introduced to like how you record. And like I kind of knew, but I had never experienced it. So we were recording, and I just remember thinking, this dude recording us has got the coolest job. I mean, this is what I want to do if I'm not going to be a drummer. I want to just sit in this chair and listen to music all day long and help people create their art.
That is so cool.
And so once the band finally kind of hung up the towel or threw in the towel, I went back to them and said, look, I got to work here. And so they gave me an internship, and then within a year I was getting paid, and I was like making myself valuable, whether it was going and getting more bands or I don't know. There was a bunch of stuff I did for them.
But I think that's a perfect example, Tom, of like the chances of you landing your dream job right out of the chute is probably pretty slim. So you got to stub your toe a few times.
Yes.
But you'll get there. Like, just keep going.
And each one of those was a stepping stone. Like the second job came because I could say that I did all that recording on those tapes. And they were like, okay, so he knows something about studio stuff. And then each one was a stepping stone. But man, it was like, it's funny. The passion just didn't come until the music was involved. Anyway, the final thing on this number 3 is quality connections trump quantity every time.
Yeah.
That's pretty cliche, but it's so true.
It is.
100% across the board.
Yeah.
Personally and professionally.
Totally.
It's true.
All right,
Amen.
number 4.
True.
I feel like that one took a long time.
No, I liked it.
I was pontificating.
No, but it's true. You know, I mean, it was when I first went to work at the Dallas County Judicial Treatment Center, and I was dealing with drug addicts that had been convicted of drug-related felonies, and I knew I liked it. I liked the guys. They were just, they've had lots of crime and everything, but I really liked them. But I knew I couldn't do that.
Yeah, learning.
And so that taught me that I could do what I was doing, but with a different population.
Yep.
That would be not life-threatening so much. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, not so much exposure.
Yeah, yeah. But you keep on. You know, just like you, Tom, you just kept going.
And you learned a lot. I mean, the stories that you have.
Yeah.
And I have perceived that it's given you a lot of compassion.
Yeah.
For convicts.
Yeah.
You know, it's not as black and white as sometimes we want to see it in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, number 4. This is going to be interesting. Find your why. No one likes their job 100% of the time. Very true. 100%. But if you have a strong purpose, you'll get through the tough times better than most. Yes.
Yes.
If you feel purposeful at your job, you're probably going to plow through the tougher days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Write down your why and post it somewhere visible. Don't be afraid to reevaluate it every few years.
Now that's a really good suggestion, isn't it?
What would I'm curious about this. What would be your why?
Mine would be for 1 million subscribers. Just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Yours would be for Tova and Janice.
Yeah, that's why.
Duh.
Well, you know, I think my why would be when I went back to graduate school, my primary goal and my why was I wanted to try to make the world a better place. And so that's really why I still do this. Whether this or seeing clients or whatever.
Yeah.
Was just to maybe help the world be a little bit better.
That's a great why.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great why.
Because it's not, when you do this job, you don't make $1 bazillion.
No, you don't.
No.
You don't. We're not going to be bazillionaires.
No.
But the moral payoff is huge, and that feels really good.
Yeah, it does.
Feels really good. It says, let the why be your guide every career decision you make. I think that's really good.
I do too. I really like that.
If you know your why, then you know where it's going to feel good to spend most of your time.
Yeah, and when you know your why, it gives you the momentum to try to get there because there is really probably no there.
Yep.
But it gets closer and closer and closer.
Yep.
Because I can remember when I was working out there at that judicial treatment center, I would come home and my kids were at home and I was divorced and they, I drove in the dark. I mean, it was just all these things, but it all ended up to unfold in the right way for me.
Yeah.
And so it was worth it. It was my training ground.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. You were going through a lot
I was
at that
going
time.
through a lot. Yeah.
But thank God you did it.
I lived through it.
Okay, Janice, finish us up with 5.
All right. Take pride in your work. Got that, Tova?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you, Tom?
Indeed.
Good. Me
I take a lot of pride
too.
in my work.
I do too. I take it seriously, and
You do take it very seriously. And you're incredibly professional in what you do, which I always really appreciated.
which you are too.
Well,
you
thank
know,
you.
I mean,
Thank
it's
you.
that's why we do it.
Yeah.
Dive in with precision and take pride in the details.
Yep.
Yep. Seek feedback and I can't read that.
Iterate.
Iterate. What does that mean?
Talk? Is iterate?
Seek feedback and iterate, and maybe other people
initiate-
talking.
Initiate.
Seek, I don't know.
Like seed feedback and give feedback, I think is what it's saying.
Seek feedback and iterate. Okay. Well,
I think iterate is to communicate,
okay.
to talk.
Good. Thank you.
Welcome.
Be known for high quality.
I love that.
Yeah, me too.
I really love that. Tom, you're exceptional at this as well.
Yeah, you really are.
So professional, always here on time, always ready to go, so efficient. I mean, just you make this process for us
doable.
Easy.
Yeah.
Very
Thanks.
easy.
Yeah.
And you're so professional. And like your space is so cool. Like it's very well done.
It's warm, it's inviting, and it's just
And it's cool.
inspiring.
Yeah.
This room is inspiring.
It is inspiring.
Thank you.
It really is.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we're coming into your workspace, so it's easy for us to see how you work. But
Yeah.
I would say you do all of these with like
Yeah, I agree with you.
100%.
Tom, the other day, this person ordered Prince Charming is Dead or in Rehab, the audio, and they called me, and I said, and they told me that, and I said, "Oh, you did? You're the one." But they went on and on about the sound and how well you recorded that.
Oh, wow.
Because
That's
we
awesome.
sat there for a lot of hours, me reading that book, and they were just so impressed. They were like, "Where did you get that done?" And all the blah 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 blah. So you know what you're doing.
That's
And
awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. And like Janice, when people come to your space, it's clean, it's cool, it's comfortable, it's safe.
Yeah.
It's professional, you know, and you take it very seriously.
Yeah, so is yours.
And you always dressed, when I would come see you, you always dressed so nice. And You're very good at this as well.
Thank you, Tova.
All right. I like these.
I do too.
So we'll be back next week with 6 through 10.
Perfect.
These are good. These are good for if you're 53.
Yeah, I think so too.
Have a great week.